Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chai with Us podcast. This is episode number 65. I am Erica, the personal developer. You can also find me at Emotional Freedom.
Hello, and I'm Ivana from Oakland Isabel.
Yes, and today you are going to watch the second part of our conversation on the book The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. If you haven't watched the first part, it's going to be somewhere over here, so you can go back and watch it because it was amazing. And that's it. Enjoy the episode.
Yes, thank you.
So I love it. The first step that he comments on the book for you, to be more present is
Mhm,
to, I'm reading here, start listening to the voice in your head as often as you can. Pay
mhm,
attention to any repetitive thought patterns, those old gramophone records that have been playing in your head perhaps for many years. This is what I mean by watching the thinker.
mhm,
This is so nice. So that's what you were talking about
mhm.
before, like to listen. Do you find it easy to listen to the voice in your head?
I think so. Now that I know what it is, and it's not, you know what I mean. It's not me. It's the voice, and I can always be like, like when your voice says something, you're like, no, I don't believe that. Like, where did you get that idea from? And it's kind of like you can have like an argument with the voice.
Aren't you attaching if you are arguing with the voice? No.
Are you what?
Aren't you like attaching if you are arguing with the voice?
Maybe because I'm not accepting what is now, but the voice isn't always right. You know what I mean?
No, you're like, shut up. And then the voice is like, no, 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 I'm right. And you're like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very interesting. Um,
No, but you know what I mean? It's like you like have this thought like, oh, this muffin is really bad for me, and it's like, well, is the muffin really bad for you? Where did you get that thought idea? Well, my mom always taught me that muffins are really bad for me to eat. Well, is
yeah.
that true or not, or is that just like a belief that you got from your mom? And so that's what
Hmm.
I mean. It's like you question like, where did the thought come from? Like, why do you have that? Is that your belief or is that somebody else's belief?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good exercise, actually. It's not like you are engaging. You're just like, where did you come
Yeah.
from? Okay,
Yeah. Where did
you
you get
come
that
from
thought
there. Okay,
from?
bye bye.
Well,
Right.
he says that like our fear of death affects everything, and he says it's even affects our need to be right in an argument. And I never thought about that. Like our fear of death is behind our like need to be right in an argument. What do you think about that?
I felt a little bit, because I like to be right. I have this
Hmm.
problem where I do like to be right, and yeah, it makes total sense because when he's talking about dying, he's talking
Hmm.
about
Yeah.
your ego, the idea that you have of yourself, right?
Hmm.
So let's say I think my freaking ego thinks that I am very smart, right?
Hmm.
So I say something that it's not quite correct. And somebody tells me, no, Erica, this is like that. And I'll be fighting, to death to prove the person that I am right. So what am I afraid of? Like, what's gonna happen if I'm not right?
Hmm.
So the thing that can happen is that my ego will die a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the end, that's what you want is your ego to die because your ego
Yes.
is not helping you.
Yeah.
But we have defense mechanisms, right? So the story I
Hmm.
told was a little bit over, I don't know, over simplified, but that's what
Hmm.
I felt like. And I do feel that sometimes when I'm in an argument, I have to stop myself. I'm like, what are you arguing about? Like,
Exactly.
is it worth it? And
Yeah.
are you trying to, if like, honestly, if I realize that I'm just trying to prove myself right, I will just shut up and let it
Yeah.
be. But it's something that I mean, I realize you always have to be in conversation with yourself.
Hmm.
You always have to be, girl, what are you doing here? What's happening? Yeah,
Yes.
and then you have to be honest with yourself.
Hmm.
uh, and very important that I love that he mentions throughout the book, the entire book, don't be judgmental.
Yeah.
the fact that you're being present, it's not like for you to attack your thoughts and, fighting
Mhm.
them and stuff. You just realize they're there. um and I like that he mentions this, like, don't be judgmental. Like, why
Mhm.
would you be? It's a thought. If you
Yeah.
act on it, that's a different thing. But I like it. I like it.
Mhm. I also like that he mentioned, because I thought this was definitely speaking towards me. He says that we sometimes put ourselves in dangerous activities because they force us to be present in the now. And that is so true. And dangerous activities can be anything from like roller coasters, like riding roller coasters, because when
Don't
you're
like
like
that.
on a roller coaster and you're going up and then you fall down, you feel like you're going to die. And I love that
Yes.
because you're so present in your body. But it
Mm-hmm.
can also be other dangerous activities like speeding while you're driving or other dangerous sports like skydiving. I've
Yeah.
never done it, but I've wanted to. And I think like that's why some of us like love these dangerous activities because they put us in the present moment.
Mm,
But I think the more we train ourselves to be present, fully present in the present, we won't need these dangerous activities anymore.
that's
It's just
true.
about the
And
practice.
yeah, it's, you said the key word is practice. Because
Yes.
once you start practicing, once you are having a conversation and you're like, wait a moment, I'm not even here. And then you bring yourself to the conversation again, then you are present. And the thing is that
Mhm.
it gets easier and easier for you to do this. But of course,
Yeah.
you have to do the work. Let me tell you, like, I was reading this book and I was feeling like 10 times more present in everything
Yes.
I've done. 10 times.
Mhm.
I don't know if you experienced the same thing,
I know what you mean.
but it was just like, I read the book, I had these thoughts over here, and that's like, seriously, I'm gonna make it a thing and read this book every year or
Yeah.
every 6 months, if I have to, or if I can, because it is important. And I saw how important it is to revisit this
Mhm.
type of content. Because,
Yes.
listen, I was spot on. I was doing everything in the book, and I was happier. I
Yeah.
was happier when I was following these principles. And I realized that with time, life, people, life circumstances, things change and you kind of disconnect from certain things.
Mhm.
You start doing some choices and, okay, let me do this instead of that. Da,
Yeah.
da, da, da. And and this book kind of brings everything again
I think it's
together.
nice to see the progress that you've also made, because when you reread the book, you can be like, "Oh, now I remember where I like got this process from is from this book, and I'm doing this." And then you feel like happy and you feel like you're on the right path.
Yes, absolutely. And there are certain things that I didn't grasp at the moment.
Exactly.
For example, this concept of life and life circumstances.
Okay.
You have your life, your being,
Mhm.
and then you have everything else is life circumstances. So, and we should focus more on life, on being, on the now, than on the
Mhm.
life circumstances, because they are
Yeah.
always going to change. And we cannot base our being and our state only on life circumstances,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
this was one thing that when I read, just, when the concept was here. But now that I've done more work, read different things, I'm like, okay, I get this. I get this. Maybe I'm focusing more on my life circumstances now,
Mhm.
which is making me go away from my life, right?
Yeah.
Because this is the thing that doesn't change, right? That's
Mhm.
me, my being. But life circumstances, they are going to
Yeah.
change. And if we're constantly chasing, well, it's going to be an unhappy existence.
That kind of goes into what I want to talk about, is like that he says that there are no problems, only situations to be dealt with, and how and or to be left alone or accepted. So
Mhm.
like that to me, because I used to live like my days by like my problems, if that makes any sense. Like if I had a problem, it would take over my whole world and my whole day was ruined by it, and I'd have all these like I would attach all these negative emotions to the problem, and you know what I mean? If I felt crappy, it was because I had this problem that wouldn't go away. And he says that's not true at all. Like it's just a life
Mhm.
situation that you need to deal with. You
Mhm.
either need to accept it if you can't change it, or you need to let it go.
That's simple. Like, I think that this is what he talks about is life. That's
Yeah.
what happens in life. you have a situation, right? Either you act on it or
Mhm.
you don't act on it. But the most important thing is that you accept it. Even if
Yeah.
you want to be lazy, he says in the book, even if you want to be lazy, you decide to be lazy, then
Yeah.
be lazy as F. He doesn't use this as F like me, but he's like, go ahead, be as much lazy as you
Yeah.
can. And then just accept it.
Uh-huh.
Say, I own it. I'm going to be lazy in this situation. I'm not going to do anything. Own the thing. And
Yeah.
of course, but the most important thing is to live in the present moment.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm not, because sometimes you're like, okay, I can only, for some people, it's true. I can only get out of this situation in 3 months from now.
Mhm.
What are you going to do during these 3 months? Are you
Right.
going to cry, be sad, be anxious? Like, you can only solve the situation 3 months from now.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, what are we going to do? We're going to
Mhm.
be in the now. Okay,
Yeah.
what we're going to do today. What am I
He
going to
said
do
that
now?
that there are no problems in like in the presence of the now, because right now you don't have the problem. It hasn't happened yet. And so like why, but I think it's just like I don't know if it's like our upbringing, our conditioning, what it is, but like we attach our identity to our problems. I know a lot of people do. I used
Yes,
to do that.
yes.
What do you think how can we like stop doing that?
Like, I think there are many things here. Like, first of all, in our society, if you don't have problems and if you're not dealing with something, nobody even listens to you.
It's so
they
true because we
they will be
love
like, oh,
negativity.
boring. My, like,
It's
if you
true.
go and if you're like, oh, Erica, how are you? Oh, I'm very good. I feel very well. I feel very
No one wants
peaceful.
to hear that,
What
Erica.
happened? Oh, I went silent for a day. People, but nobody, right? Nobody wants to hear me. So I think we are overstimulated. I talk
Uh-huh.
about this all the time. We are
Yes.
overstimulated. Society likes struggle, the hero story, the person who has been through all. And then if you have nothing to tell, like, come on. And then being attached to your problems, I guess it's comfortable because you don't have to
Hmm.
actually solve them. You can
Yes.
just be there and do nothing. So I think that's also good for you if
He
you
said
are.
this thing. He said the light is too painful for someone who wants to remain in the darkness. I like wrote that down, starred it, underlined it, highlighted it.
I love it.
If I had the book, there'd be arrows pointing towards it.
Three exclamation points. Ah, oh my God.
It's true. I think it's um, when you've been through something and you attach your story and your life to it, it
Mhm.
gives you reason to continue to be the victim. And then if you're the victim, then you don't have to face your life and live in the present moment. And you can just
Yeah.
continue to feel sorry for yourself and say, well, I'm this way because this person did this to me. And now I'm going to
Mhm.
continue to live this way and I don't want to change. So I think up until that point, until like you're ready to change and accept what happened and let it go and live your life new, like you just life is just dark for you, and like so you have to
Yeah.
be brave enough to step outside of the darkness. But I think when you're going through that, it's like when you're depressed, you see like no end to it. There's no light at the end of the tunnel because you're just stuck in it and you don't think things are going to get better, but they
Yeah.
are. And I think that's when you really need a support system and you need to seek therapy and a group of friends that can really help you get out of that darkness.
Right. It is true. And sometimes, like the present, like the situation that you are in, maybe the situation sucks, but the thing is, you have to accept the situation that you are in
Hmm.
order to do something now. Because if you
Yeah.
keep waiting, your tomorrow is going to be the same as today's, right?
Hmm.
So um I love this when he talks about living between past and future and how it is an illusion that
Hmm.
none of this exists.
Yeah.
We live life like tomorrow is guaranteed. It
Right, we
is
do.
not. I mean, it is not. The
Hmm.
past already. happened.
Happen.
Uh, Probably didn't even happen when like the way we think it did,
Remember?
because
Yeah,
we never have the
exactly.
whole story of everything.
Mhm.
And I think it's the good thing of the book is just realizing that only this moment now exists. There is
Mhm.
nothing more real than this moment, because the future is not here. So,
Yeah.
thinking about what's going to happen, we're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist and most of the times will not even exist.
Mhm.
And the past is like no point of going there unless you need
Yeah.
to change to learn something, right?
Mhm.
And I like this idea that like we should stop navigating in between these two and be here now, and that it's
Yeah.
okay. And he talks about having goals, and that it's okay having goals as guidance,
Mhm.
but we make the decisions now.
Yeah.
We make the decisions now. Like, what are you going to do now? You have a big goal. What are you going to
Mhm.
do now? Then focus on this thing now.
Mhm.
There is no need to focus on everything that is going to happen after this. If you focus on
Yeah.
just this thing and enjoy this thing and the next thing and the next thing, then you have a beautiful life because you are actually present.
Yeah. It's true.
It's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. Okay.
He
Sorry, I
talks
was
about
thinking about
how we have to catch ourselves complaining. And I completely agree with this because, like he says, non acceptance of what is now carries a negative charge. So if you're complaining, that means that you're not accepting of what is happening in the now, and that's a negative charge, and it's going to make
it.
us feel negative, and that's not good for us. So we have to catch ourselves complaining, and I am a big believer in this, and I really try to practice this when I have a thought that's like complaining.
Yeah, I was a complainer. I had friends that we just
Hmm.
did complaining all the time. And right now I'm quite intolerant to complaining. I don't like
Yes.
complaining. And here I am complaining about complaining. Okay.
I had a friend who wrote me this like really long email about how she was having like this conflict at work and how she thought this guy was like gonna fire her or something like that, and she was gonna go to the reporters. Then I was like, okay, and she's like, well, you don't have much to say, and I was like, well, I've really tried to remove complaining negativity from my life, and she said that's not it's not possible to remove negativity from your life. And since then, like we haven't spoken.
What? Oh my God.
And
But it's just,
so, but you know what? So now I think about it, like, well, we haven't spoken, but it's like I don't have that kind of conflict in my life. And I've told you, I'm like trying to remove conflict out of my life and not
mhm.
to be around it. And so I'm having a hard time understanding your conflict. And she could not understand it. She got very defensive and got very upset over it. And she goes, it's not possible to remove conflict from your life. You're right. It's not possible to remove all of it, but you can reduce it and you can like say how like what conflict you will allow in your life and what negativity you will allow.
Yeah, but also there is one thing, uh, to have a conversation about something that is happening to you, and a different, complete different thing is just sitting down complaining
Right.
for a long time without even having like a solution to, like, why are you complaining? Like, are you going to do something in regards to this? And complaining has this heavy energy. I don't know, when I complain about something, my chest starts to be very heavy, you know,
Hmm.
starts to become very heavy, and it's such a negative energy just to complain. I mean, you can complain about the weather or whatever you want, but it's like
Yeah.
it's the negative charge that you put on it. For
Yes.
how long do you do it for? Do you sit
Yes.
down for 2 hours? I don't know, but if you sit down for 2 hours complaining, I'm you're not going to feel good. You're
It's
not
true.
going to feel good about yourself. You're not going to
It's
feel good
true.
about your life. So I mean, there's no point on complaining. There is
Yeah.
only like you tell me what's happening, what you're going to do about it, and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
complaining is very pointless.
I agree. I
Oh,
agree.
I love this sentence. The future is an imagined now.